Welcome to today's Explainer. So, today we are unpacking a shift in the housing market that is honestly so massive, it's literally rewriting the rulebook. I mean, typically, we all look at real estate as this reliable, stable, super predictable thing, right? But the source material we're looking at today suggests the ground has entirely shifted beneath our feet. We're not just seeing a trend, we are stepping into completely uncharted territory here. The Great Disruption. Let's just sit with that for a second. We're not talking about a little dip here. This isn't just a slight market correction. When an everyday market is described with that kind of absolute terminology, it tells us that the old rules have just been completely thrown out the window. The normal, day-to-day operation of buying and selling homes, it's been violently interrupted. And that has created this entirely new climate that absolutely demands our attention.
All right, let's get into section 1, the reaction, and specifically a sudden shift.
WTF just happened to the housing market. Honestly, that is the exact verbatim language from our source material, and it definitely doesn't hold back. It perfectly captures that sudden, record scratch moment. When you look at the landscape out there right now, this kind of unfiltered exasperation is really the only logical response. It's relatable, it's honest, and it cuts right through all that dry, boring economic jargon, straight to the universal bewilderment we're all kind of feeling at the moment.
To really understand this shock, we have to look at the anatomy of what's actually happening. Basically, you've got the traditional housing market, historically a reliable standard, the thing we count on. But then it collides head-on with the Great Disruption, which is this unstoppable, chaotic force. And the inevitable fallout of that collision? Absolute, undeniable confusion. It's like when an immovable object meets a completely unpredictable force, confusion just becomes the dominant, defining characteristic of the whole entire event.
So we're essentially watching a direct battle right now between our traditional expectations and a totally wild, disrupted reality. We naturally want to associate housing with, putting down roots, building a safe future, that whole American dream vibe. But right now, that idea is being completely overshadowed by chaos. These two concepts are entirely at odds, and yet we're being forced to somehow reconcile them at the exact same time. It's wild.
Which brings us to section 2, the lingering market question, or how we go about processing this shock.
And we find ourselves right back at this exact phrase because, well, it isn't just a passing thought. It's really the definitive summary of the overarching public sentiment today. If you want to understand the housing market right now, you actually don't start with the data. You start with this desperate plea for answers in a landscape that has, quite frankly, just stopped making sense. We aren't safely looking back at this disruption from a distance either. We are actively living right inside the shockwave. So we are left with the ultimate, totally unresolved mystery, WTF just happened. The ground shifted, the traditional rules shattered, and honestly, the dust hasn't even begun to settle yet. What actually triggered this, and what does the aftermath really look like? Keep this question in the back of your mind the very next time you drive past a for sale sign, because the true answer to all of this is still actively being written. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you guys next time.